Okay, and we are recording now. Well, okay. Hi again, everyone. This is Monica from the State Board. I'm the Policy Associate for Accessibility. Welcome to our February 2022 edition of Accessibility ctcLink Open Forum. This is our new Zoom space for the 2022 series. Glad to have you all here today. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping things that I want to share with you all. Number one, I've received a couple of chats that maybe there was an issue with the calendar invite I sent out, including the link or not. So I will definitely double check on what was sent out earlier and make sure that that issue is corrected. Number two, our cart captioner appeared and then mysteriously disappeared from the meeting. So right now I have auto captioning enabled for us to view, or for you to view if you need. You can click the CC button on the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you don't see the CC button on the bottom of your Zoom screen, click the 3-dot ellipses where it says more, and that'll give you view options for live transcript as well. As always, if you have questions or comments that you would like to share during our time together today, you are encouraged to unmute yourself and ask those questions that way if you want to, and you also can put your questions or comments in the chat. Christopher Soren and I are both co-hosts of this meeting. We will do our best to moderate the chat and the waiting room as we have a discussion with you all today. I think that is all the information that I needed to share from an administrative perspective. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over now to Sandy Main. Thanks, Sandy.
Good morning, everybody. This is Sandy Main, Director of Application Services at the State Board. Pretty much sticking with the same format we have in the past, going through some of the current stuff that we're doing at the State Board. We did change things up a little bit where we're not going to just focus on Oracle service requests, but we're actually have added in all the current service desk tickets that we have. A lot of them align, so you're going to see maybe a few of the same things and some new ones, but we're going to go through, talk about that. And we does not mean myself, it actually means Christopher Sorensen, so we'll turn it over to him in just a second. We did get a request from one of the colleges for a discussion, and we'll touch base on that after we go through, and might actually answer the question before we get there. And then hopefully we'll have lots of time with the colleges. You can all just kind of share some ideas with each other, or have a space where you can do that. So just want to extend my thanks to everybody. I love these. We learned so much, and I hope we can continue meeting every month. I mean, that's the plan, but we keep this energy going is amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Christopher and his team. And Christopher, would you mind introducing yourself again and your staff?
Yeah, I'm Christopher Soren, the Application Support Manager, and I have an awesome team here. Currently with me today is Pamaja. Introduce yourself, Pamaja.
This is Padma. I work in Christopher's team and work on development, fixing issues, and especially accessibility. We are doing our best, and we are also in process of learning and making ourselves better to serve you better. Thank you.
This is Christopher again. So we'll go ahead and roll on to the next slide. So we're still meeting with Oracle. In fact, Josh, one of our other engineers, is currently in the Oracle meeting. It's happening simultaneously to this one. So that's that HCM monthly accessibility focus group that they have. We also continue to meet with them and to speak more directly about our specific service requests that we have open. And we continue to have those, and we can make progress. And we also have the AXCON Accessibility Conference. It's an online conference that few of us on the team are going to be attending to continue to learn new things, expand our knowledge.
Christopher, this is Sandy Mean. I want to, at the state board again, I want to jump in and talk about the solar winds. So we have connected internally with our with the department that is provides oversight for and support of our service desk, and we're working with them on a long-term plan. It's as you know, any software update doesn't just automatically happen, especially with our service desk, because we use it more than just for ctcLink. So we need to make sure that we address the needs that need to happen, but that we don't stop support altogether, right? We can't just shift right on the dime. Just so you know, we use it for our agencies, staff support, but we actually use it for our legacy team as well. While they're still, we still support them for another 5-6 months, along with ctcLink and a few other things. So I know that they're working on finding a perhaps a different software vendor, but I don't have any specifics to share yet on the timing on when that's going to happen. We've had a few obstacles and other issues come up, but just know that it is on still on our work plan to get that addressed. Thanks for the interruption, or for letting me interrupt real quick, Christopher. I'll let you continue on with the next slide.
This is Monica. I'm actually butting in. Sorry, Christopher and Sandy. I'd like to pause the conversation for a moment. I'm trying to work out an accessibility kink so that we have the most accessible experience as possible. I am aware our captioner has joined us, and I'm struggling to get him properly assigned that role. So the reason why I'm pausing the conversation is I need to turn off the auto captioning in order to reassign the captioning role to our live captioner, and I don't want people to miss information. So if Chris, if you could just type in the chat, so maybe people who are relying on captioning are aware we're pausing the conversation for technical troubleshooting, and that will be on our way in just a second. So here I go. I'm going to turn off the captioning. Okay, disable live auto, assign a third party. Looks like I have already assigned him captioning. So the captioner that's in the room with us right now, your ID doesn't include your name, so I don't know how to address you. It looks like you're now able to type captions in real time. I'm seeing them appear on my screen. Looks all good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Okay, we can continue on.
This is Christopher. Hey, everybody. So High Point, they're in the process of adding alt tags on the college logos. So we'll update as soon as we have additional information on that. They're working on it. We're going to setting up an environment to review the latest release of High Point HCX. So we're still pretty early in the process, but we're currently reviewing and taking a look at all the changes in the new release. So we'll let you know when a test environment will be available for external testing. We currently don't have an ETA on that, but we're working on it. Yeah.
This is Sandy Mean again, just so we get a little bit of context, and I apologize, I probably should put this in the slide. We're doing this initial evaluation of the product before, so we can kind of review some of the findings that came from Cato, because we want to make sure that High Point has addressed them. So they have done several updates to the product, but we just don't know how it aligns with the findings that we have. And we want to make sure that if there's anything missing, that we can go back to the vendor and see if they can address it before we do our next release. This year's a little hard. You know, we were going with another deployment group, and we don't have the opportunity to release as many updates to HCX. So when we do it, we want to make sure that we're doing good, that we're not introducing more issues. So it's an opportunity for state board staff to do an initial walkthrough, take a look at it, see how it's working. Is it meeting our needs? Do we see any major issues? And once we kind of get an idea of where things are, then we can start looking to see when is a great time to have outside in, you know, groups, you know, maybe Cato wants to do it, or if some college staff want to come in and look at it from a perspective and accessibility review before we go to the full process or project to release the new product later this year into production. So it's our way of just making sure that it's addressing the needs and our findings. Thanks. All right, Christopher, I'll go to the next page.
That's Christopher, sounds good. So the online admission application, or as we like to call it, OAAP, so CASTech is the company that makes the online admission application portal. And so they work with Barrier Break, a third-party company, to do an accessibility review. And so CASTech, they just released a draft VPAT, and we're going to be getting that up on the ctcLink accessibility webpage. And so they're working on resolving all the identified issues that Barrier Break put in their review and things. So like there was some content failing to reflow, some of the error messages were difficult to locate within the tab navigation. So they're working on resolving all of them. CASTech is been one of the nicest vendors to work with. They've been so responsive with making quick changes to resolve accessibility issues. And so yeah, they're working on constantly improving their product.
This is Sandy again. Christopher, I'm so sorry. It's like, why can't I put all this stuff in when I was doing the slide deck with you? Just so the group knows, the plan from CASTech, well, two parts. They've already addressed a lot of the issues that was originally in their draft or in their initial assessment. They've already gone through and have already addressed a lot of them. It's us trying to figure out a time to roll it out, right? Because we also have, again, the deployment group don't want to disrupt ctcLink deployment. But CASTech's plan is that once they have addressed all the issues that they found or that were identified in the review by Barrier Break, and they feel comfortable and feel that they've got everything under or have addressed everything, they're going to go back and have them do another follow-up review. And so then they will issue an updated VPAT at the time. So they're really serious about getting this right. And I was happy to hear that they were going to cycle back around and they weren't just going to leave it. They want to make sure. So that's a great, you don't find that with all your vendors. We'll put it that way.
This is Christopher again. So yeah, so we're going to cover the service test tickets and the Oracle service requests. A lot of the service test tickets align with Oracle service requests. If we get a reported problem, we're going to open that up with Oracle and ask them to fix it. So one of the things that has been standing for a little while is the CS Academic Advisement Report. They are in the middle of working on a fix, and we're just waiting for them to deliver it. The plan is to get that in CS Image 25, and we've also requested a POC or a PRP, which is a proof of concept or a PeopleSoft release patch set to get the fix earlier, but they're still working on delivering that fix. And the next one, the submit button in the enrollment process is out of the tab order index. So when you're tabbing through that it's not in the correct position that it should be. Oracle, we opened a service request with Oracle. They agreed it was a bug. That can be quite a process sometimes. They ask us for all the replication steps, so we got to show screenshots and videos and business justification sometimes. But they've been seemingly to be more agreeable to accessibility bugs of late. So it's been so we're waiting for them to deliver the fix. But that's a good step to get them to agree on that particular piece. Once we just show them what's going on. So the next one there, the screen reader on the academic progress page. So we got some information during the last session on this, and we explored the page and we took a look at it, but how you interact with the page and how the page gets rendered, it depends on what program you're in, what classes you're enrolled in. And so if we could get, we're looking to get some more additional details on what's happening on that page. We certainly want to fix it. So that's where that one is. So we're gonna when you're in the small form factors, so like if you are on your phone and you were to go to the see a student payment page, one of the boxes shifts over outside of the scope, and you have to like scroll over. It doesn't render or flow within the small form factor. So this is a reflow issue, which is appears in a couple different pages. And Oracle has they know the reflow is an issue, and they're working on it, but we don't have an ETA from them. We also are going through the approval process to potentially shift this page from a classic page to fluid page as additional way to tackle this. So we're tackling it through the SR and potentially through shifting it to fluid. All right, on to finance. So we got a PRP for that first one. We tried it out, didn't work. So it's the attachment button on the grid doesn't have the label that it should. And the fix is coming in image 43. So when we implement finance in image 43, that fix will be in there. And so we're just waiting for that updated release patch set from them. So we can potentially get that in earlier than for image 43. So the expenses page. So if you go to the navigation in finance, the employee self-service and expenses, on that my expenses tile, the number of active expense reports, if you have a number, it should be 0, 1, 2, 3, or what have you, when you have expenses there. So we went to that page and tried it out with NVDA, with JAWS, and we weren't able to replicate it at this point. We did get the original report on this particular one, I believe earlier in the year, and we've implemented some images and tools updates since then. So as far as we know, this is resolved. With our testing, we aren't able to get that to not happen. It was happening. So if it's still happening, please let us know. We're here and ready to fix stuff. And Oracle continues to work through the W2 PDFs. So you can still go to the page and view your information on the web. This will become particularly relevant in the next month as you go to do your taxes. But the downloaded PDF version isn't tagged as it should. And so they're still working on reviewing their technologies and processes to get that downloaded PDF properly tagged. This is one of the ones they initially pushed back on, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer. So I kept pushing them, and they finally they've been making a lot of progress, but they've been running into some challenges. So yeah, that one's still coming along. We'll keep updating us. I'm sure Josh will have another update for us once he comes back from the meeting that's going on right now with Oracle. The absence page. So we've submitted a SR to Oracle, and they're working. So the page reloads and doesn't announce to the screener that the page reloads. So we're waiting to hear back from Oracle on how they best want to resolve that one. There's also the multiple jobs indistinguished, so you can't tell which job you want to pick when you want to enter time on a page. And we actually have, we'll slide with the proposed solution and we can have discussion around that one. It's coming up. And then we've also opened a service request with Oracle on the report time page. So after you select that previous button, the focus goes to the calendar button and the date in the edit box, and that doesn't get read out. We're not seeing that in JAWS, but we are seeing that in NVDA. So we're having Oracle take a look at that one. There's also these ones are still in the position they were in our last meeting. So the switch control, Oracle development's reviewing how they want to resolve that one with the switch form control and the checkbox not being compliant. Also with the back button, when you're in the screen reader mode, the back button doesn't work if you access a page with the transfer page function. So we'll be looking to get that fixed coming in People Tools A59. Also, Oracle development is continuing to review that. So when you select a combo box, that first row is blank. And especially if it's a required field, you don't want that first row to be blank. You want to list the order of the items there without that blank row. So we're waiting to hear back from them on that. The calendar widget, there's a Firefox fix in A59, but if you're in Chrome or Edge, it should work just fine for you. If it's not, let us know. And then we're still waiting to hear back from Oracle development on our sorry about the query viewer page. So the criteria in form, when you're in forms mode while you're using the screen reader, is not being read like it should. All right, good to go on to slide 10. That's all right.
This is Sandy Main again. I just wanted to kind of pause here and see if there's any questions from the participants or any clarification they would like.
Christy Fierro, I see you have your hand raised. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Hello, and I apologize. I looked through the slides to try to make sure this won't be covered in the future. There's a question on the status of the confidential disability information for both students and staff. Is it now secure and not being shared between the colleges?
Christy, this is Monica at the State Board. Thank you for your question. The issue of disability student coding information and confidentiality was actually a topic at the most recent fall meeting for Disability Support Services Council. And that group was working really closely with me to remain very clear on what is and is not happening. So what I can say right now is that the visibility of disability information for employees at colleges is not viewable between colleges, and only specific roles at each college should have the permission to navigate to and view the accommodation data page. There are some remaining concerns around student disability coding information that is being discussed primarily in the DSSC space with me. And for the purposes of the open forum, and I discussed this ahead of time with Sandy and Christopher, we really want to keep these conversations focused on the technical and functional accessibility concerns of ctcLink, and the confidentiality, coding, and data concerns are related, but a separate issue. And so the best space to have that conversation would be with me directly and or with the leadership of the DSSC Council.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm here representing Shoreline, helping them with some ctcLink conversion. And as they're in the middle of the ctcLink conversion, apparently it's become a a question asked repeatedly and often. So they were asking me to find out, and I'll follow up with you after. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. And I know at least one person at Shoreland who I think did send in a similar question to our team earlier, and I plan to follow up with her directly. So perhaps the three of us can have a sidebar conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Of course. This is Monica continuing to speak. I have a couple of comments that I want to add. Number one, at the December open forum, one of the asks that came from that conversation from participants was folks, our colleges being able to view an ongoing list of known accessibility issues or open tickets related to ctcLink. And although we have been discussing those at each open forum and they are listed in the slide decks that are posted to the website, we agree that having to go and find or download a slide deck is a bit of a annoying and cumbersome way to access the information if you want to reference an issue you're experiencing with an already known documented issue. So Sandy is working with the person who helps update our public facing ctcLink accessibility page to make that list available right there on the page so that people can go and reference that information whenever they need to. I just wanted to follow up on that request from December. I promised you all that I would follow up on all these great requests that we came away with in December, and that was one of them. The other comment I have is just momentarily taking a moment to go back to the HCX mobile conversation. I want to reiterate a deep gratitude to Cato's time spent accessibility conformance testing and sharing that information and report with the state board. I also want to reiterate that that information was shared with and documented with the vendor after Sandy and Chris's team spent ample time reviewing it. And then the other piece that I want to share is as their team gets ready to do testing of the newest version in the test environment, I have some follow-up accessibility questions for the vendor that I hope to share directly with Sandy and Robert Drake, who helps the state board communicate with the vendor High Point. So I didn't jump in earlier when we were having that conversation, but I did just want to kind of reiterate those things, and I'll turn it back over to whoever's up next. Thank you.
Hello, this is Christopher. So I saw a question in the chat from Sean, wondering what people software version we are on. So we are on People Tools version 85721 at this current time.
Christopher, this is Sandy Mean. I want to jump in real quick because we might as well just talk about it now because I bet everybody's going to be asking. You'll see a lot of reference to People Tools release 8.59. That is the next version that Oracle is saying that they have addressed multiple accessibility issues. As a personal note, I got burned on that statement when they said, if you go to 8.57, we've addressed all those accessibility issues, and we found that not to be 100% in line with what we were hearing. So we are going to be working this calendar year on getting an environment updated with that newer version of People Tools so we can do our own review of it. Again, I know it's frustrating for everybody here. Oh, we've got the deployment groups, but that is just the world we're living in at the moment. So we can't go through and do a major upgrade to ctcLink and disrupt that progress. So we are going to be looking at the new version of People Tools 8.59, just like we're doing with the High Point HCX stuff. Taking a look, see what's in there, see what actually is being addressed. And doing a lot more evaluation of it and not set that message out like we did the last time. It's going to be the end all of everything, and which we kind of got, I'll say, burned on. So we are going to be looking at 859, seeing what's in it, what works and what doesn't. And again, we're going to try and get an opportunity so people can do the evaluation. But right now, we're looking at probably not having a deployment of people tools 859 until the 2023 calendar year. Yes, cringe, that seems so far away, but this is a big lift, and can't quite disrupt the colleges, especially since the last group doesn't go live, until May. So there are action plans to get it looked at and reviewed. So when we do deploy, it'll be quick. It won't be, months and months, another a year-long process. It'll be shorter when we actually start the project when it's finished. So I hope I didn't muddle the waters much more, but wanted to kind of get it out there. We are already down that path of looking at it. All right, Christopher.
Hey, this is Chris for everybody. So one of the problems we were responding to, people reported they were having trouble figuring out which job to enter time for because the job titles have the same name. So if you have two different jobs that have the same title, it's hard to tell. And so certainly this is an issue if you're using a screen reader. This would also be an issue if you were not using a screen reader and we're trying to pick which job you wanted. One proposed solution we have on this is to add in a drop zone on the top of the page. So when you're choosing your different job in the drop down, the page reloads and presents you with information like who's your supervisor, so you could tell between the two jobs there. One of the things we found though with when you're choosing that new job and the page reloads is similar to one other page. The page reload isn't announced to screen readers. So we've opened a service request to Oracle on this, and the unannounced page reload in one other instance was a known bug or Oracle development is working on. So certainly we don't want to provide some change and provide some clarity on this page. And we kind of wanted to get your feedback on this potential solution here. And if it's helpful for visual users, I can also share a screenshot.
Chris, as you share the screenshot of the initial idea of how to solve this problem, perhaps we can give a description, an auditory description of what it is. So for those who benefit from that, have access to the information.
Sure, yeah.
And I can help with that if you want.
Yeah, let me the screen sharing. Give me just a moment here.
And before we start, or go ahead and do the screen share, but before we describe what's on the screen, let's pause. Does everyone understand what the issue is that we've just described that we're discussing right now, or does anyone need further clarification? Now would be the time to ask a question.
This is Vicki Walton here. For those of us who are not live yet, it might be good to review a little bit so we understand what's happening.
Thanks, Vicki. This is Monica. So the issue that we're talking about right now is when a college employee is going to navigate to the screen where they would enter or report their time worked. If that employee has more than one job at their institution, when they go to that page to enter their time, you need to select what job you're entering the time for. Right now, there is a barrier to doing that successfully and easily because the job titles, if you have two jobs, for example, the job titles have the same name attached to them without other different information that differentiates them from each other. So certainly this would be an issue for everyone, including screen reader users or other AT users. And so when Chris and his team were looking at the issue, reviewing some of the information that Bellevue College had documented with us, right now what we're going to talk about through the screen share is a proposed idea or initial draft of a solution to make this process easier for people. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much for taking the time to do that.
Of course.
Yeah, this is, oh, go ahead.
This is Sandy. I'd like to jump on. I just saw a comment from AJ. It is not an issue for everyone. I think you're right. It's the issue really presents the fact for anyone that has to report time, it's not easy to quickly understand what job you're reporting time on. Excuse me. So what's displayed on the screen, there is a drop-down box where you select your job title, and the contents, the options are like support staff hourly, support staff hourly. So in that context, the issue that we were initially looking at solving by using what was called the drop zones was to help make that part easier, but it impacts those that need assistive technology even more than a user that has to report hours. So this page needs to be addressed for those that report no matter what, but we don't want to break something by introducing a solution that may not work for everybody. So you can switch to job, it's just hard to, you have to pay attention and not, you know, it's hard. Some people just don't, you know, like, I don't know which one to choose. So I hope that that clears up. And that's kind of when we refer, it does impact anybody using the page in a way. Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, this is Christopher. Yeah, so certainly first and foremost, we want to make sure that we're resolving all the accessibility concerns on this page. And so what I have here is a screenshot, or up on the page with a couple of screenshots. The second one shows the drop down of the job title with support staff hourly listed twice, so it's hard to figure out which one you need to pick. When you choose one of those, the section above it reloads with the page. That's the one I was talking earlier with the page reload unannounced. We want Oracle to fix that, certainly. But when you select one of the jobs, what you're seeing there is the additional that info record 0 or 1, depending on the job you pick, as well as the hourly rate and your supervisor name, so you can tell the difference between those two jobs. So as we've continued to, so yeah, we're proposing making this change in the system. Would this sound helpful? Certainly want to push Oracle to resolve the unannounced page reload issue.
Thanks, Chris. This is Monica. I personally, I think the proposed solution makes sense to me, and those other identifying information would help you select the correct job. I am seeing another comment in the chat from AJ at Bellevue that says their HR department was able to change the names to differentiate two different jobs for an employee who was using assistive technology, so that they can see the difference, but they still cannot easily get to the two different jobs. So I'm wondering, AJ, if you have further comments on that, please feel free to unmute yourself. I'm wondering, Chris, would that primarily be because of the page reload not being announced, that navigating between one job or the next is there's a barrier there, even though the names have been differentiated by that college's HR? I'm trying to make sense of. AJ, would you like to expand on your comment?
Hi, Monica. This is Marissa from Bellevue. AJ and I were side chatting about it, so sorry for the delay. We're trying to figure out the details between our two different employees. So I think, so our cited employee that it's working for got things relabeled as, you know, support staff hourly 1, support staff hourly 2, and so she can navigate between the two. I think what we need to check for the other employee is if it got labeled as 1 and 2 and he still can't navigate between the two of them. So that's something I can follow up with you on.
Okay.
Because I think it could be either issue, but I can review the videos that I know you have, and we can connect again with that.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you. So Marissa, I'm hearing you're going to help us follow up, and you'll reach out to me and we can clarify that with Chris's team.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So
yeah,
are there,
oh, go ahead. Yeah, this is Christopher again. I was just wondering if there was any other additional questions, and we continue to, you know, look at certainly press Oracle to fix anything we're seeing, as well as look at providing, you know, additional solutions here. If any other reported issues you have around this page. When an additional idea we're exploring, trying things out on that on the time page, adding in that drop down at the top that would apply to all the different pages. But it still might be valuable to have that additional information on the enter time page. Just want to provide the best solution.
Christopher, this is Sandy Main. Can you, on that second page you were just displaying, can you describe what is in that drop down box, like to those that may not be able to view it, what it was before and what your team is pursuing as an option?
Yeah, so one thing we're pursuing as an option and exploring is, so this is the first screenshot in the first page is when you're on the enter time page. This is on the time page where you have the option to select the enter time or the report time, request absence, cancel absence, view request. So it's when you're on that initial page before you go into one of the pages, such as enter time. We're exploring the idea of adding a top menu option where you would select which job, you'd hit apply, and then your enter time, time summary, the job that you picked, it would be applied essentially on those pages. Similar to how, I'm going to scroll back up, adding in that, if you're on the enter time page and you were select one of the different job titles, and then it would provide that additional information in that section on the page. I'm going to go ahead and scroll back down here. It would have a little more information in that top drop down where you select your job. And so you wouldn't see just support staff hourly in the drop down. You'd also see the supervisor name there next to the support staff hourly job title, so you could tell the difference between the two, and then apply it to all those pages. So we're continuing to explore ideas and propose solutions.
This is Monica. So the second idea is essentially before you actually select the enter time tile and navigate into that space. First, you would select from the drop-down menu at the top of the main page which job you want to select, and then hit apply. And that's the key difference from this example versus the first solution we were talking about. Correct?
Yes, and they could build upon each other. So, for example, if you selected the second job here on this time page, and then you went into the enter time page, this additional drop zone on the page would display that information as well. So you could just be doubly sure that you're entering time for the right job and not have to go back to the enter time page to see which one you had applied if you weren't sure where you left off. So that they could build upon each other.
Thank you, Chris. I see a comment in the chat from Bellevue again. Marissa says we have employees with 2 different positions and 1 supervisor. So that's good to know that then the job title will be important for differentiating if the supervisor's name is not changing between those jobs.
This is Padma. We also are adding employee record. So employee record and supervisor name along with the job title. So though there will be same supervisor, because of employee record number will be different, they will be able to differentiate.
This is Christopher again, as well as maybe the job maybe has different, each job may have a different hourly rate to display on there. You might be able to use that as a differentiating factor as well. We just want people to tell the difference. Solve the problem. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. Turn it back over to Sandy to share again.
So this is Sandy Main. One of the, part of our forum website or web page, excuse me, is a way to report agenda request to it. So one of that came in was a request to show or to talk about or address exactly all the screen reader issues that are being worked on. So we have published them to the ctcLink accessibility web page, and there's a link on the slide deck a little farther down. But as I kind of went through and we were going through, as Christopher was going through the individual items earlier in the slide, I realized I probably didn't do a good enough job identifying or putting enough detail in that list on the website or on the web page. So I'm going to cycle back, maybe put a little bit more details to have that information a little clearer on that. And again, to repeat, the information that you're seeing on that web page is a list of all the tickets or any items that have been reported to the state board as issues, along with any issues that we have uncovered as we've done testing or, and just in the normal course of business that we do here at the state board. So I'm going to encourage those that if you find something that's just not working the way it's supposed to be, please either open a service desk ticket if you can, or work with your, however that process works on your campus, or just reach out to us. We're always, we'll log it right in and start working on it. So we don't have the name in front of me of who submitted that item, but I wanted to kind of pause for a second to see if anybody wanted more clarification on that one.
This is Monica. Thanks, Vicki. Vicki said it was their ticket in the chat and that they appreciate your response, Sandy. I know that during December, our last forum together during December, the importance of ticketing was also discussed, and the issues around solar wind accessibility came up as well. So I'm wondering if we have an update around that conversation for our participants today or not.
This is Sandy. Christopher, I know you've been working with our help desk. Do you have an update?
Oh, this is Christopher. Hey, everybody. Yeah, so if you're one of the name admins on the campus, you can send in an email to create the ticket. And just provide us the details on what you're seeing. It's helpful to have replication steps so we can get that information to Oracle when we're working with them, because that's one of the first things they ask us. How do you replicate it? So providing them that information helps us too. You know, we can run through a page with a screen reader, but knowing exactly how you're using the screen reader on the page. Are you in forms mode? How are you interacting with it? Are you using NVDA, using JAWS? Because sometimes, like one of the earlier ones I mentioned, we're not seeing the issue with JAWS. We are seeing the issue with NVDA. So we certainly want to make sure how you're using it, the software you're using is interacting well with the system as expected. So just let us know, yeah, what page you're seeing the problem on, and how we might be able to replicate that issue. So that's some good helpful information for us as you open those up. Or if you're providing that information to one of your named admins on campus that can then open the ticket via email or directly through our service desk. It is a little quicker if you're entering in with the service desk, because you can select the right accessibility drop down. Whereas if it just comes in via email, we work through them all, we get them assigned, but it is just one additional step in the process to getting it assigned to the right people, because it's just going to come in as other when you send in that email. So we'll still get it, we'll still work on it, but go ahead, Monica.
Oh, excuse me. What's the email address that people can use to submit information?
I think it's ticket router at ctcLink. I can double check.
Let's double check, and I'll make sure to get that out on all of our listservs. So if someone does want to share information and using the SolarWinds system is not an option, we have the correct email address. Sure.
Yep.
This is Sandy Main. I'm not sure, Christopher, do you remember if it works for if an individual that is not on the authorized ticket submitter, I don't know a better way to say it, that if they're not an authorized individual, will it still go through? I want to be cautious. We send out the email to everybody, and then all of a sudden they're getting bounced back that they're not authorized. So I think we need to be really clear how that's going to work. And also, as Christopher said, it might get stuck. I don't want to say not looked at, but sometimes those other that just randomly pop in don't get addressed as soon, and it might sit for a few days before somebody even knows that there's an item out there.
Yeah, this is Christopher again. Yeah, we want to make sure we're addressing anything accessibility issues get reported as quickly as possible. So yeah, that is accurate that if you're not one of the named admins, the system will kick back that you're not one of the named admins. You're not going to get your issue submitted in. So you want to make sure you're working with who the named admin is on your campus if you're going through the that email or the ticket submitting route. But please continue to let us know what's going on. I want to fix stuff.
Vicky, I see you got your hand raised. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you. I'm on the page. I just don't know Sandy, what are you calling the document that you put up there?
This is Sandy. It's if you can navigate to the ctcLink accessibility web page, not the forum page, but the accessibility web page, we do list kind of current activities. I'm going off of memory, so sorry.
Yeah, no, I have that.
Yeah, there's a couple bullets, and I think the last bullet in that upper section just says service desk ticket / Oracle service requests. And then they're listed out by the pillars. And then the final list on that list is those that are impacted throughout ctcLink. So that is a reflection as of today of all our reported service desk tickets or issues that we're working on. And that's the one that I need to cycle back and probably put a little bit more details in that because it's kind of vague for it. So I'll be working on that, getting that page updated. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I see it. I thought it was going to be a link that I'd have to click. So
Yeah, we just didn't want to, like Monica mentioned, we just didn't want to bury it in the
Yeah.
PowerPoint, and then you have to go more and more just to
Yeah.
find that list. So we will keep it updated at a minimum once a month. And if you don't mind, I'm going to use this as a segue to the slide that's up right now because we're running out of time. In fact, we're over, but this is the perfect way to submit. The link is in the slide deck, but it's also on the webpage to submit ideas or questions to us for the next meeting, so we can get our act together and get the response ready or address the issue, and also to report it out for the greater good.
Thank you, Sandy. This is Monica. I'm going to go ahead and put a link to the main ctcLink accessibility page in the chat. So before we end, folks, you can copy paste that if you want, so you have that after today's meeting. Vicki, I see you still have your hand raised. Do you have another comment, or did you? Oh, it's down now.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
that's fine. So as Sandy mentioned, we are at time. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We really appreciate your participation in these conversations. Our next forum will be Tuesday, March 8th from 11 to noon. And as always, we will work to get this recording and PowerPoint, or the PowerPoint's already online, excuse me, but we'll work to get this recording available online as well. And with that, I'm going to stop recording and bid you adieu.